Hi, and welcome to this episode of the CCPA Playbook. Special guest today, Jay Miller. Thank you for joining us. I'm sorry, athletic director slash coach Jay Miller slash husband slash father slash world champion kickball. Right? Did I see that right?
Minute detail in my resume.
Yeah.
Minute detail.
Well, listen, you're world champ right now. Listen, you're the world champ until somebody knocks you off.
That's
Well,
awesome.
welcome. I will say what an honor this is for me to have you on here. I think it's pretty cool for me to talk to you for so many different levels. One, I am a Lake Sumter alum, so I feel like I'm one of your bosses. That you're at Lake Sumter State College. What an awesome thing that is. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself, Coach Miller?
Yeah, so just completed year 10 as the head softball coach. Just completed, I guess, year one as the interim director of athletics here. Something that was completely unplanned. I had just came in August ready to get the team ready to go, and then some stuff happened here, there. Conversations happened. The opportunity was there. I kind of jumped at it. Having been here for, at the time, 9 years, I was really excited to have this opportunity to step into a different role. So that's really been it. And again, when I started this job, I had no kids. Now I have two kids, an amazing wife who you know really well. And so I kind of like to explain to people that if you're interested in our program, you got to understand that we just do it a little bit different. And so, what does that entail? That's what I think we're going to get into today.
Yeah, and I always tell people it's funny you say that because I always tell people we are unapologetically us. Um, Megan McGuire, who is our community, our marketing communications coordinator, she says that you and I are kind of like connected somehow, some way in the universe. We are connected, even though you're a Buckeye. I would never even understand what that's like, but being a Florida Gator, but you and I are have that same mindset, right? We're unapologetically us, and you're not afraid to be who you are, even after 10 years, which is a big deal. I think our previous two episodes, Coach Miller, we talked about property appraiser stuff, and I felt like it was important to bring you on because we just wrapped up. We're June 2nd. We just wrapped up May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I know you're a big fan of really taking care of your players, taking care of your staff, taking care of your family. And so yeah, we're going to dive into that. So this episode, it's really about mental health, sports, leadership, and all those things that encompass that. So why don't you tell us how you came from the great Buckeye State down to Florida?
So, born in Columbus, Ohio. So, whenever anybody attacks me about being a Buckeye fan, I just explain, listen, I'm from Columbus. So, yeah, so I was born and raised, born in Columbus, raised in a little town called Chillicothe, which, fun fact, is the first and third capital of the state of Ohio. So, don't ever forget it before Columbus.
Now listen, you just said a fun fact. I got one for you. Today is June 2nd. And I don't know if you know this, but this is the Citrus County Independence Day. We were
Ooh.
formed as a county June 2nd of 1887. So today is Citrus County Day. So you're spewing fun facts. I got some for you also.
I've got to add that to my shared calendar so everybody knows it because that is good. That
Well,
is
if you
good
share
for
our Facebook post that Megan did today, then you're gonna be a historian of Citrus County.
Perfect. Well, actually, the funny thing is, Candace and I always talk about when she comes up to Ohio with me, how much we're taught in school about the history of Ohio, and then I drive around Florida and she tells me nothing. So whether or not it's taught and she just didn't learn it or whatever, but so then I went to play college baseball at the University of Rio Grande in Southern Ohio, which is very famous for if you've ever walked into a Bob Evans and you open up their menu, there's a picture of Rio Grande, Ohio, and it's not pronounced Rio Grande. Okay, because a bunch of white folks saw it in the newspaper
Yeah,
and thought it
yeah.
was Rio Grande,
Rio Grande.
and so that is how he became a Rio Grande. So eventually tore my elbow in half. Baseball career was down there. And then I ended up moving down to Florida where I met my wife. Um, she went to college. We both went to college out in Oklahoma. I only did 2 years. I got my degree, played a little bit more college baseball. Then we went to Northwest Missouri State, where I tell everybody to go to. It's an amazing place. Love it. And then from there, on the
I
day I
wasn't sure if you
graduated,
were being facetious there or you were being serious.
no, I was being serious.
Oh, okay.
No,
I was.
Goodwell, Oklahoma, Goodwell, Oklahoma, very
Sure.
good to me. It's just in the middle of nowhere, and you got to want to go there.
Yeah.
And so Northwest Missouri State University, amazing place, amazing people, big time Division II athletics powerhouse. The day I graduated with my master's degree, my wife graduated with her bachelor's degree. And she looked at me and she said, "Now we're moving to Florida and we're never leaving." And so here I have been ever since. Went to Eckerd College right out of Northwest, spent a year there as the sports information director. Left that. This job came open as the head softball coach. I applied, jumped on it. I've been here ever since. And as you know, my wife works for the clerk of courts.
So this will be an interesting question. I was going to do it in the rapid fire at the end, but you've kind of just put it up on a tee for me. Who's the better athlete, you or your wife?
See, now this is, how much did she pay you to ask this
She
question?
didn't. I don't even think she knows we're doing this today, unless you told her. I didn't tell her unless Megan did. So, um,
So this has been a battle my entire life. Growing up, my sister was the better athlete in our house.
yeah.
Okay. I always tell people my dad is the better coach than I am. And so in my own house now, my wife and I will go back and forth on things like, I'll say, "How many stolen bases did you have?" And she'd give me some ridiculous number. And I'd be like, "Well, were you 1,000% at stolen bases?" Because I was 1 for 1 in my college career,
Yeah.
which
Right.
is 1,000.
I mean, hey, statistics are everything in baseball and softball.
Exactly.
Well,
So, right,
yes.
I will say this, post 2 children, we're probably even.
Well, I don't think that's fair. She carried the children. Like, I mean, I don't know if that's a fair assumption, but I'll give that to you. Right now, you're even right now. Okay. Yeah, it's tough at my house. So Nancy, fun fact, they'll see more fun facts. If you go to Lecanto High School's softball complex, she is going to murder me for saying this. If you go to Lecanto High School softball complex, on the back of their dugout
Yeah.
is all their statistics, all their records, I should say. And Nancy is on the wall for the least amount of strikeouts in a season.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
she's the stud athlete. I would have to say the best athlete in our house right now is our daughter Savannah Weaver. She is an amazing athlete, and there's nothing. She's a former Citrus High School Female Athlete of the Year. I'm telling you, Jay, if she had any desire, she didn't want to, which you and I both understand that. She didn't have any desire to go play college sports, but if she wanted to, she'd have been a stud. And I thought about this yesterday. I was talking with Nancy and we were talking about this podcast, and I said, "Man, I tell you, this is the kind of because she's never met you." I said, "If Savannah ever went to college to play college sports, I would want her to play for you."
Oh, see, now in the sports world, that is what I believe is the biggest compliment you can give or receive to anybody is I will never talk negative about another program, but what I will say to people is if I had a daughter, that's where I'd want her to go.
Right.
So
And
that
that's
is
kind
a
of how
super compliment.
I wanted her to understand, I think the magnitude of why I respect you so much. And you wrote a book called The Island, and I think we'll dig into that a little deeper. Like I said, May was Mental Health Awareness Month. But if Savannah wanted to go play college sports, I would want her to play for you and nobody else, because I know that first and foremost you're going to take care of them or of her as a person first, and then a student second, and then an athlete third.
Oh yeah, and I tried to first off, thank you. And I tried to explain that to people that, winning is not what we're about. It happens, it's a byproduct. We are successful in the field because of other things that we do. The other thing I have to explain to people is that it's not all sunshine and rainbows. It's not every day Skittles are pouring out of the sky and everybody's happy. There are tough
I mean,
days.
that wouldn't be a bad thing if Skittles were pouring out of the sky at Lake Sumter. That's some good money. That's good alumni money.
There you go. There you go. But the whole process of understanding that I love you so much as a person that I am going to hold you accountable to the point to where you probably feel uncomfortable. And we always talk about growth and development comes from uncomfortable situations and being held accountable for what you do so you can reach your full potential. And I look at it as this way. We've got 2 years, sometimes 1 year with these student athletes to try and get them ready for you are going from the end of your childhood life. Okay, you graduate high school. We get you for 2 years. We are the jump off point to where you are now in society as a fully functioning adult. What are you going to do now? So we get that jump off point that is extremely pivotal in the success of these student athletes, more importantly, as people.
Yeah, and what I've always told student athletes that I've been a part of or been around their lives, that when they're in high school, and I know this is gonna you're gonna be like absolutely 100%. When they're in high school, they're the best athlete in the school, probably in the county, and then they go to college, whether it's JUCO, whether it's Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, NAI, it doesn't matter. They're equal to everybody on the team. Like and that's a hard thing for some people to face the fact or face the music on.
Oh yeah, because you have your perception is your reality. So if you think you are the best, then that's what you expect, and then you walk into a situation where maybe the game is going extremely fast. Maybe you stepped into a situation where the program doesn't run itself the way the your previous one did. And there is an adjustment period like everything else, but it is a situation where you have to really take a look, be willing to take a look at yourself in the mirror and go, okay, now what do I have to do to get better?
Yeah, and it's funny you said that you don't worry about the wins, you worry about the person, you worry about taking care of them, and those will take care of themselves. And I believe that that's the same thing our culture kind of prides itself on. We have very important roles in what our organization does. Same thing, with your wife. But I feel like if we take care of the culture and the person first, I don't ever have to worry about another thing because I know that that will always take care of itself.
So this is on my desk. I hadn't planned to show this to you, but the other day we had our final departmental meeting before we break. Um, and there are a few things I'm trying to kind of create a foundation as, potentially the future permanent athletic director at Lake Sumter State College. But it literally is right here with academics, growth as a person, as a teammate, our family culture, and then if you take care of those three things, the third thing is winning. And so our family culture is something we established, I think, in my going into my third year at Lake Sumter was family stands for forget about me, I love you. What can I do for you? What can I do to make you better? We try to push that celebrating others' successes. We should do that as much as we celebrate our own successes. If somebody else is successful, we should celebrate it as if we did it. And real quick, one big there's an image of in the state tournament about a month ago now. We had a young lady hit a walk-off hit. The first one out of the dugout scene, and we practice everything. We have an everything practice. So one of the things we practice is if you hit a walk off, whether it's a hit, whether it's a walk off, whether it's a home run, whatever it is, you're getting doused with water. The girls come running out with water cups and they're gonna. Okay, so it's our fourth or fifth catcher on our roster is the first one out of the dugout, seen dousing our shortstop with water. And I went up to her and I said, "How awesome is that? That you celebrated her success as if it was your own." That's the type of thing we love to see.
Yeah, I think you and I could probably walk into any organization in the country, whether it be athletics or whether it be profit or a nonprofit, and I think you and I within first 5 minutes can tell whether or not they're successful or not based off of their culture. I always tell people when I talk about leadership, that I can meet a leader, it doesn't matter what level, and within 5 minutes, I can probably tell you whether they're a selfless leader or a selfish leader. And then I can probably tell you whether or not their organization is good or bad based off
Oh
of
yeah.
that person, you know.
The things I hear that are just almost trigger words for me now when I hear them coming from other places are send me into a different space, and I think you might agree with this. The professional development, and I'm not going to age you, but you are older than I
Uh, I see gray on you, and I don't see gray on me, buddy. I don't know what
am. When I started, I had like three gray hairs, and I used to
I,
name them after the players, and I was like, "You gave me
yeah.
this."
Well, you earlier you said you had two kids, and I'm thinking, man, you probably got like 300 or 400 kids. Like you say you only have two, but you probably have a ton.
Yeah, I've got girls left and right that contact me, and one individually that has her own chapter in the book, and I'm sure we'll get to that. Um, but professional development nowadays, you used to have to go to these seminars. You used to have to go and sit down. You'd be gone for a week. And I get professional development in my car on my hour road trip in, my hour road trip back with the podcast, with all this. And they talk to all kinds of different people. So we actually adapted. I will say this, there's 2 years that are extremely important in my program. Number one is 2018. That was the year we first committed people over players. And we were committed to developing the person, their growth. What can we do for you more than we were winning? Because in the first 2 years, I feel like we did exactly what you're supposed to do as a coach. You try to win games. The effect of that, the byproduct of that, was once we changed our mindset, was we won more games than we ever have in the history of our program in 2018. And then in 2022 was my worst coaching performance of my career. Almost thought about walking away, and instead steered into the skid and said, you know what? Let's take this a step further. We created a rule where we weren't even allowed to talk about winning in practice. That's crazy. A lot of people thought that was extremely like too far. So what happened? We won the first ever regular season conference championship. We won our state regional championship and pushed the number two team in the country with a 56 game winning streak to game three with the World Series on the line. So we did all these things from a mentality of a business standpoint that we adapted and had to adopt or adopted and then adapted to our sport. So that was the big thing. So Simon Sinek is one of the biggest people I can ever push. I always
Mm.
tell the two biggest books are Unreasonable Hospitality, huge, huge. What am I willing to do that no one else is? That is a non-negotiable. And then Simon Sinek's third book, I believe, The Infinite Game. Those two have shaped me professionally more than any sports person I can even imagine.
Well, I'm going to pause you there. I will say that in your hour ride, if you're listening to podcast, hopefully you've now subscribed to the CCPA Playbook and you can add that to your listening repertoire. I hope that adds to that, Coach.
It will be very soon.
It's funny. I love to read, and I think that Simon Sinek is amazing because I think one of his well, I mean, his whole premise is you got to find your why, right? That's what he pretty much his whole foundation is set off of, and you got to just find people's why, and I think that that's important. On those two books are great, and I can't remember the name of the author right off the top of my head, but the name of the book is Never Eat Alone. And I think so. Like you talk about, like I don't need to go to some big mentoring or leadership workshop or seminars because I'm surrounded by some great ones like yourself. There's several in my life that I relate to and can just reach out to. Yep. So Keith Ferrazzi, this is Never Eat Alone. So it's a big one on networking. I kind of twisted it into I'm never going to eat alone. I don't want to eat alone because I want to eat with people that can help me be better. That's
Yeah.
important.
There's a lot of that kind of I think the quote is you are who you eat with at your table.
Yep.
Who do you want to be around? Who's going to talk positively about you when you're not at that table? Those kinds of things.
Right. But then there also, and I'll use a word that you just talked about, and I wrote it down when you said it because it's a big one for me in our organization, is accountability. And you're going to hold your players accountable because they're going to hold you accountable. And it's like that here in our organization. So accountability is a big one. you talk about 2018 as a tough year, and that kind of changed you as a culture, or changed you as a coach, I mean, and you talk about that a lot in the book. I really can't push this book enough. It's called The Island: An Unconventional Way of Coaching People, Not Players. And so let's talk about your book, Coach. What made you write about it, or what made you write your book? Nancy, my wife, wrote a book recently. It's a very hard thing to do because you become very vulnerable. You're talking about people that are, it's hard to talk about. And so, but your book is amazing. You can get it on Amazon. And I think what's cool about your book, and Nancy did the same exact thing that you did. You're not trying to make a fortune on this thing. Like, you put it on Amazon and it's just enough to cover the print of the book, and that's it. So tell me about the book. Tell our listeners about why you wrote the book, and what impact it's had on your players.
So after year three, we had success. We had the first 30 win season in program history. We had the first winning season in over, I believe it was 2 decades. So 98, 99, I think was the previous winning season. So we did a lot that has not been seen before. And people were asking, how did you do that? What did you do? What was, and it's funny because I didn't really have an answer at that point in time. Nowadays I like to tell people, like it's really the environment, the culture that allows people to develop, where failure is a growth, is necessary for growth. So the book came when I was requested to speak at the state convention for softball. And I was like, oh, yeah, I would love to talk about it. And they said, everybody talks about hitting, everybody talks about pitching and catching and all this stuff. Can you talk about your team culture? Because you kind of mentioned that that's a bigger detail to you. I said, yeah. So I got up there in front of, I don't know, maybe 20 people. And I just said all these things that we do. This is how we do it. We execute it this way. And more than 4 or 5 people came up to me and said, you need to put this in a book. You need to write down these details of what you do. To me, it wasn't groundbreaking. To them, to hear a college coach talk about, we'll cancel a practice just to do a team session that has nothing to do with softball,
Right.
was extraordinary. So it kind of persisted in my head for about 2 years. And then an event happened where my son, Maddox, was born. And then 8 days later, he was life flighted down to Tampa. We spent about 5 or 6 days in the hospital with him, not knowing, as the week progressed, kind of figuring out was a bacterial infection, all this stuff. And there's some other crazy things. But throughout that time, my phone was just blowing up with players, other coaches, former players, people from around the state who I said, I took a look and I stopped and I said, okay, I think we're doing something special here. Maybe it's time I start putting down these details because it seems like we're having an impact. So I started doing that, and actually, after Maddox was cleared, we went home. What would happen is I'd go to bed with my wife because she little baby, newborn, everything, and we have our second child. I didn't want her to feel any responsibility to do anything extra. We would go to bed, and once she was asleep, because she's gonna kill me, my wife snores, so I know when she's asleep. So
Oh,
then she would
wow.
snore.
Yeah, that's
I
it.
would I would jump out of bed and actually go and start writing because I didn't want her to feel obligated to do anything extra. So I actually wrote the book while she was in bed throughout the night. I had excellent help. My dad, I had a cousin, Kaylee. They would all read it. Our former athletic trainer, Betsy Billings, she would read it. They would all send me back bits and pieces. Every chapter I wrote about a specific player, I would send it to them to proof, to get approval. So it was a very therapeutic thing to rehash what we were doing with the program, why it was important. And there's been multiple times over the years, my own father is like, you need to go back and read this chapter in your book. You
Mm.
wrote this. How you're feeling right now, you wrote this. And I have done those things. But the book came out of just a necessity to go, hey, there's another avenue. Like, are you allowed to cuss on your podcast?
We try to be family friendly here.
Okay, so good.
Just say the
So,
first letter.
so I'm like, hey, you don't have to be an a-hole to get your point across, to get people to get to another level and all that kind of stuff. And I've got plenty of stories of girls that we would look at and would extremely overachieve with their successes as far as what they were, thought to be able to be done. We took a look this past year when we went to the state tournament, taking on the number one team in the country. We were as high as number 15 in the country this year, and we had three kids scholarship wise that we had to fight for. Everybody else kind of just was like, "You're our only offer," and we went above and beyond with them. And I truly believe I know better softball coaches. I know people who do better drill work than me. I know people who do better X's and O's than me. But what we are able to do as a culture, as a group, as an environment, I think is really, really what our jump off point is.
Do you think that, and I don't want to put them in a bad place. I'm just curious, like, do you think that how is that perceived by the Lake Sumter Board of Trustees and the presidents and the chairmans and stuff? Are they good with all that? I mean,
Nothing but positive.
good.
It's been nothing but positive. I was hired by our former athletic director who started up the sports program in 98, 99. Um, and he was an excellent mentor for me, going through my process and everything for the last, I think I had it for 8 years. And so I was very lucky. The board of trustees, very involved. People come down all the time, very supportive. I really think they just, I fit for Lake Sumter is what I would say.
Sure.
And,
How
and
many, now there weren't many athletic programs when I was there. How many teams do y'all have now, men and women?
we are going to have 12 moving
Wow.
into next year. So
So,
it is going to be, yeah.
what I think, here's a fun thing, and I thought about this morning on my run, was do you think your legacy is going to be more based off of you being the softball coach at Lake Sumter or you being the athletic director over Lake Sumter and being able to put your mindset into other programs?
Good question. I have asked myself this question before. What I come up with is my goal after the 2018 season when we kind of saw us take this different route, different approach. Um, and then even after 2022 when I really perceived the mental health aspect as an epidemic in college athletics. I wanted to rebuild my program. I wanted to say, hey, look, there's a different way to do this, and use my program as an example. The goal would now turn to, I would love to do that with our athletics department, all of our sports. That values approach to coaching that I showed you is something I want to share and push the dialogue on throughout our entire 12 programs from start to finish. Then I want people to look at Lake Sumter and go, oh man, look what that group is doing. And it might not even be success in the field of competition, whatever that looks like. It might be we have the highest GPAs in the country. There was a year our beach volleyball team had the highest GPA in the entire country for any beach volleyball program.
That's
That's what
big. Yeah.
graduation rates are yearly higher than the state. Those kind of things. And to look at us, and then I would like to spread that even bigger. So yeah, I really want to see how far we can take this. There are some other ideas that I have that I think some doors are going to open here in the next couple of years to where I want to implement even more mental health things. And I want to do that bigger than just Lake Sumter State College.
Is that the second book?
Uh, so I have an idea for a child's book that is based on my sister, who was our first, she was the first female to make our Little League All-Star, which is pretty cool.
Wow.
My own personal book, I plan on when I'm done coaching softball, do an entire reflection on what I did right
Yeah, yeah.
and
I
look
agree.
back and going what I did wrong so I can assist the next generation of coaches and going, hey, this is where I made my biggest mistake. Not understanding truly what my values are. There was a point this year, okay, we had won 14 games straight. And I say it's not about winning. It's not. And so we're still harping on our girls. Hey, we made this mistake. We've got to get better at this. We're winning, and we're still holding them accountable to the point where I was like, but we've won a lot of games. I'm tired of getting mad after we win. So we've got to restructure this because we never won like that. There were days where I used to pray for 2 games in a row that we would win. Okay. Year one, we won 13 games. Year two, we won 21 games. This year, we put a 24 game win streak together, which is absolutely unheard of. Okay. That's insanity. That's not normal. But it was a game 14 where I'm riding home on the bus. I'm going, why am I so upset? We've won these many games. And so then I had to have a conversation with myself and my assistant coaches to go, okay, hey, they're doing what they have to do. Practice is where we're going to make these points and we're going to get better. There's no lack of effort here. There may be some lack of execution, and that's what practice is for. But as far as, hey, if we are in the game and the goal is to win, they're doing a fantastic job at that. We
Right.
need to just let that happen. So even in mid-season, evaluating myself. And I always tell people this, the first finger you should point should always be at yourself. What can I do better to serve?
Well, and that's a big point on self-reflection, right? I think as a leader, I think that's where everything starts, and then everything kind of trickles down from there. Um, you said it earlier in a different context, but I will kind of put my own spin to it. In fact, I said it to Cecil Jackson in episode 2. Success comes on the edge of discomfort, right? And if you don't put yourself in an uncomfortable situation, how are you ever going to grow? And because if you keep doing the same thing, Henry Ford said one of my favorite quotes from him is, "If you always do what you've always done, you always get what you always got." And so, I think when we talked about that legacy moment, like you want it to be as a softball coach, or you want it to be as an AD, or I don't want to be known as the property appraiser who just came and put values on properties. I want to affect people's lives, and the only way I'm going to do that is to keep evaluating myself and our organization. So, but I will say you got to enjoy the victories, because how many times in your 10, well, I mean, you've been playing baseball your whole life. So, how many times have you ever in your entire life, and how many times do you ever think it'll happen again that you'll win 24 games in a row again?
It's absurd, and
Right.
I can't even quantify, because it got to a point where someone was like, "How many games in a row have we even won?" They're like, we weren't even paying attention to it, and
Yeah.
that's how I knew what we were doing was working because it wasn't a thing. Like I think we lost, and when we lost to the number one team in the country. I'm walking back to the bus. It was the road game, and I said, "Oh, we lost our win streak." And another girl goes, "Oh yeah, that's right." It wasn't even a thing. But I
Yeah.
will say, as far as you asked about the legacy thing, I've said this to my players before. I said, what do I want to be remembered as? And there's going to be a point. There's going to be a point in my players' lives that I no longer exist. James Miller has passed away. I am in the ground. However,
There's going to be a statue of you at Lake Sumter. I'm going to make that happen.
oh man, what a terrible statue.
Yeah,
Um, but my goal is to live on through the lessons you were taught while you were here that you are
sure.
implementing as a coach, as a parent, as a leader, as a manager, as a CEO. One of my players from 2017 posted yesterday she graduated with a doctorate. She's now, you know, Dr. Mitzi Ruiz, and she's from Denellen. And I was like, that's what I'm talking about. Those are the things that I'm laying in bed, going through social media. I'm pumped. I'm
Yeah.
pumped. Those are the kind of things that I think, and if you look at the last chapter, the last paragraph of my book, it tells you exactly what I view as a successful life, as a successful legacy.
Well, and it's funny. I just told somebody this the other day because they asked me, because I get asked all the time, which I love. When people ask me about leadership stuff, and I say, listen, I'm a, this isn't a boastful thing. This is just the reality, and I think you're going to relate to this. I'm a military veteran, law enforcement veteran. I have an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, a master's degree. I have credentials through the roof, right? The number one thing that somebody has told me in the last 20 years of leading is, and this was recently, we had somebody retire, and she goes, Craig, I just want you to know that this is the greatest job I've ever had, and I have enjoyed going into my retirement life knowing this was my last job.
That's awesome.
Huge. Nothing else matters. And so when I talk to our leadership team, like I want to make sure that that's our legacy. And so like yeah, so you earlier you talked about you want to celebrate everyone else's successes. That is huge for me. Like I don't even care about mine. Like I we are getting the next group prepared for when we leave. Like I'm excited for that group. And if we do it right, then we'll do it right. And so if I can leave that legacy with them, like that they're going to be okay when I'm gone, and then that if somebody retires, because we have plenty of them coming up in the next 4 or 5 years, and if they can tell me this is the greatest job they've ever had, that means a lot because these people have been working 40, 50 years
Oh
and
yeah.
they've had multiple jobs. And so that is a huge deal for me. And so that's cool for
Yeah.
you to say.
My experience with that is that there's this statistic that floats around Lake Sumter State College softball, and my pitching coach who played for me, both my assistant coaches have played for me, which is awesome because they want to come back. I think that's amazing. But one of our players was trying to decide, do I want to go on and play a 4 year or am I done? And our assistant coach, I heard her say, I wasn't even in the conversation. She goes, just understand, 80% of the people who leave here and go on and play quit after the first year. And I had always thought it was about 50% myself because I knew that kind of stat similar. But I asked the player because it used to bother me. Why would you go and then quit? That makes the program look bad. People aren't going to recruit our players. She goes, Coach Miller, you need to understand. It was Nicole Smith. She goes, you need to understand. We went to your program and we figured out how it was supposed to be done, how we were supposed to be treated as people, not as athletes. And when we go on to another program and it's not the same, we're not going to deal with that any longer. And so it's not right for us. And so it's not okay. And so then we quit. And so that kind of put a different perspective on it as far as can't really argue with that. If it's not for them and it's not the way it should be done, and I'm not saying I'm perfect, and I always tell people there's more than one way to do things right. That's what my father told me all the time in sports. Okay, how I do it doesn't make me right. It's what works for me. So having that kind of statistic somewhere between 50 and 80% quit after the first year, it's a backside compliment.
Yeah. You just used the word perfect. In your book, you actually said your wife isn't perfectly perfect. And we could say that about everybody, honestly. You just make that point. And so where I'm going with that is, not every athlete is built or can survive in your program because some athletes, I listen, I've been around. I just went and had I hung out with a group of guys that I was their school resource officer. One of them played Division I football at Appalachian State. The other one played Division I basketball, all over the country. He actually played basketball in Europe. I've actually coached on football teams, high school football teams where the players are in the NFL. Um, and so I say that is that you get some athletes that listen. So I'm also familiar or close with Kirsty Merritt, and I don't know if you know that name. She played at Florida, three-time All-American, played on Team USA, and so she needed to be where she was with Coach Walton, and not every person needs to go that route. Some of your players, and this was going to be my question for you. Would you take somebody that's gritty? Would you take an athlete that's gritty and just practices their tail off, or do you want talent? So going back to that imperfectly perfect player for you.
So this is where I'm going to get weird. Okay, I'm a
Ah, here we
numbers
go.
I'm a numbers guy. Okay,
Yep. Well, that's softball and baseball, anyways, right? Statistics.
but there's some obvious things I look at. GPA, okay, you know that kind of stuff. But one thing I look at a lot is your height.
You said
You
height.
height.
Oh, I'm
You
sure.
you will find on my team I have about three players who are 5'6" or taller. Everybody else is shorter. Because my belief is if you were shorter coming up as an athlete, you had to fight that
Right.
much
Yeah.
harder to get your dues, to get your respect. Um, so I look at that as a plus. So right now I've got a young lady who's 4'11", came in on a visit, and I'm like, all day, yes, because you are the grittiest, toughest. Are there better players out there? Sure, but you've got to be the right fit for us. How hard are you willing to work to get better? Are you willing to get up at 6 a.m.? Are you willing to stay late? Are you willing to get home at 1 in the morning from a road trip in Georgia where we had class the next day? Those are the kind of variables that just what we call eye candy talent can't produce. So we're looking for that little bit of extra. That what separates you. I will take a less talented player who has, let's say, better characteristics to be a better teammate than the other person. I'll take less talent, and I think we do all the time. I'll give one story. Young lady, her name was Mackenzie. She came to us. She had really no other offers. We kind of saw her on a backfield, and she hit. She hit like nobody's business. We're like, you don't lift weights. You're not big, but you lift weights. Or you hit home runs. And we're like,
Hmm.
that's kind of a natural thing. Like, what can we do with that? I don't know. She comes in her first year very raw. Had to teach her, defensively, first base is the way you do. She maybe played in 10 to 12 games. Okay. And I gave her a list and I said, this is what you have to do to get on the field next year. If you want to play first, you got to do this. If you want to hit in the middle of the lineup, you got to do this. I'm very honest in the front, and I go, if you check these boxes, good things will happen. So you never have to worry about what I'm thinking because I'm going to tell you honest things.
Right.
People don't like that. Well, this young lady, I knew her work ethic was undeniable. She came back the next year, and I'll fast forward to a couple of things. Number one, we get to the state championship game. This is the state championship final, winner take all. It is 3-2 in the seventh inning. We've got 2 outs and our third baseman fields a ground ball, makes it through to first, we win. I go back and watch that footage. Kinsey is playing first base, and her toes are barely hanging on the first. And she made a play that a year ago she couldn't have made. But because she went out, she did the extra practice, she did all these things, she did the checklist that I told her to do. She was the one who saved the game. I didn't even realize it until I got home and saw a different angle. And oh my gosh, we were that close. That close. And then later on, we play the number 2 team in the country that year, and they're riding a 56-game winning streak. And she hits a go-ahead game-tying home run in the seventh inning to send us into extras. And this is a girl who, for all intents and purposes, didn't have any other offers, who came in and did the checklist and said, I want to play. Tell me what I have to do. And she did it. And so that's one of the big things we look for. Are you willing to put into what we need?
Here's a fun question for you, Coach Miller. Do you think you've made your players better, or do you think your players made you a better coach?
Oh, both. Both. Absolutely. I make mistakes just like everybody else. And I love the players who are willing to come in here and have a conversation with me. I have a 24/7 open door policy with my players. And they will come in and go, hey, I didn't agree with what you said the other day. Cool, let's talk about it. You've got to be able to be open to criticism. Again, you need to point the finger at yourself first. What can I do better? And I've had players come in and make suggestions for, hey, this is what I'm seeing as a player. Can we adjust this in practice? Yeah, absolutely. Those kind of things. Um, it's not a dictatorship. It
Yeah,
absolutely.
so that creates a balance with you and your players. Basically, you're open 24/7. So I call that kind of like, so we have a safe place to work. Like I
Yes.
want our people, like I feel like we grow as an organization, and it sounds like it's the same with you guys. That we have the ability to have disagreements and not agree with each other 24/7. I don't need a bunch of yes people in the organization, because if not, we're never going to get better. It sounds like that's kind of the same philosophy that you have on the diamond, and so you have a safe place for your athletes to come in and tell you things. Um, this isn't. I always tell people, kind of like the Knights round table. It's round for a reason. Like
Mhm.
there's not one person that's the head of the table. We actually have an oval or pill shaped conference table. Hate it. I wish it was round. I wish the room was bigger. Maybe that might help. But I want our staff. Just because my name's on the door doesn't mean anything. Just because your name is on the door doesn't mean anything. It takes a collective group, and so we create a safe place to have those disagreements, like you talk about. So that's important. That's a big deal.
Yeah, and we talk about the difference in listening and hearing.
Mm.
Those kind of things.
That's a hard thing for leaders to do.
I really pride myself on when I get in a room with my fellow coaches and everything like that. I want to have them tell me what they think before I even speak about what I think. All right, what issues are we finding? And this is really, again, with my team as well. You tell me, perfect example. A young lady comes in, she says, all right, hey, I really think I should be starting. Oh, great. Thank you for coming to me because by having that open door policy, she's able to come to me because where else is she going to go? She's going to go to the team. And we're going to have these issues and all that kind of stuff. So come in here, sit down. Okay. And my assistant coaches thought I was crazy the first time I did this. I said, no, this is honesty. This is I care so much for them that I'm going to be honest with them. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Who should you be playing over top of? Here's the roster. Here's the stats. Who are you better than? Who are you going to replace with yourself? And we'll have those open conversations. I'll say, okay, here you go. So if you think you should be starting over this person, you need to do this, this, this. I had a young lady who was a senior in high school, and I told her probably at the end of her junior year, I don't think you're good enough to play college softball. Here's
Mm.
what you need to do if you want to play college softball. 2 years later, she's our starting right fielder. I mean, she was awesome. She did everything I asked her to do. And just being honest with people and holding them accountable to if you do this, this will happen. Having those conversations to where I can have someone come in and tell me, hey, I don't think you're doing this right. Okay, please tell me so I can do better next time. We learn from each other constantly. And I've had great experiences. 95% of my experiences with my players have been amazing. The other 5%, that's where I've had to learn. That's where I educate myself. That didn't work. That didn't work. My
Right.
2022, and it seems relatively, close, was the toughest year I ever had for coaching. That was when I wanted to walk away. I actually put winning in front of other things because on paper we were better than a lot of teams. Guess what we didn't do? We didn't win. We finished under 500. And guess what? I wasn't happy. I don't think my players were happy. And it was at that point that I actually went back to school and got a graduate certificate in student athlete mental wellness counseling because that is the aspect I was missing. And so we brought that into the program, and we've seen the program flourish since then.
Yeah, I can tell you, we've got 50 staff members, well, 49 counting, 50 counting me. Man, I tell you, Jay, I don't worry about, I don't worry about their on-field activities. Like when they're at work, I don't worry about that because we are very intentional with hiring the right people. In fact, we're about to hire a couple more here soon. I worry about them as people, like their kids, their families, their spouses, everybody has a story, and I think that's what's fascinating about, your book. You write with some stories, and I think that's what makes you and I sort of the same, because I feel like we're relatable to the people we come in contact with every day. And I think when a lot of coaches, and I would imagine it's in the college level, I've been around some high level high school coaches, they almost become untouchable. They almost become unrelatable. And I'm sure that happens in the college ranks as well. That definitely happens in leadership, whether it be government, whether it be they own a successful business. Um, I feel like you would lose your team if you weren't relatable to them, and I would lose my staff if I wasn't relatable to them.
And I would say this. I'll be honest. I don't think I'm good at anything. Like
Me
I,
either. You and
I
I have something in common then.
and I'll tell you why it's a benefit. So I tell people I'm not good at a lot of things, but I can hit a fungo. The bat that coaches use. Like I
Oh,
can I can
I'll put a
put it.
fungus.
I can place it. That's about it. other than that,
That's a pretty good talent though, because those fungo bats are pretty skinny.
well, when I'm done coaching, I'm like, great. The best thing I'm good at is just gone. So,
I tell you, our assistant property appraiser Darren Pillsbury, who was kind of helping us with some tech stuff before we came in, he I guarantee so he used to his all four of his boys were baseball players. In fact, a few of them played in college. Great baseball players. So his he actually helped volunteer at Seven Rivers Presbyterian, and I guarantee you, now his last son just graduated. I guarantee you, if we go in Darren's truck right now, if I took this laptop downstairs to his truck, there's a fungo bat.
oh yeah,
100%.
oh yeah.
It
Well,
doesn't leave you. Oh, here we go. You're going over to your fungo bat. There it is.
yeah, yeah.
Look at
It's,
that thing.
oh yeah. It doesn't leave my side. When I get into conversations, I'll hold it as a comfort thing. Um, but what I was talking about
That can
earlier
be
is
scary. That can be scary.
I was demonstrating a hitting thing to one of my players in the middle of the year, and I didn't have my fungo in here, and I was like, "Oh crap, I've got an autographed bat," and I took it out of the case, and I was like, "Listen, this is what we got to work on right here." So, but the point I was trying to get at is I've considered myself one thing that has given me the biggest benefit as a leader, as a mentor, and that is I am an insecure overachiever. I don't believe that I am good at anything, so therefore I have to try harder to do better, and then the result is what it is. That's what's gotten me as far as I have in my career. That's what's given me the longevity in coaching, 10 plus years now. Is I don't believe I'm good enough, so I'm going to strive to get better every single day.
That's that grit, right?
Yeah. Always learning, always educating yourself, always trying to find. I keep a running list of notes. When I go to the gym, I'll have days where I want to listen to loud music, and I'll have days where I want to listen to motivational podcasts, and I will write down a note that I find anywhere and everywhere.
Have you ever heard of the guy? His name is Ryan Leake.
Hmm.
So you need to follow him on your podcast, on your YouTube channel, on your social media. You can even go, Jay, I'm about to blow your socks off today. If you go on his website, Ryan Leak, and I don't know if it's called Leveling Up or if it's just ryanleak.com. It might be just ryanleak.com. You can put your phone number on there. Jay, he will send you a text. I truly believe it's coming from Ryan. I think that he's texting Craig and saying Craig needs to hear this today. But man, that you want to keep adding to your motivational tank. Then you
That's
need to
pretty
get
good.
on it. Yeah, because he talks about one of his books, one of his best. Yeah, he's got a lot of books, but it's called Leveling Up. There's levels to this thing, and there's always going to be levels to this thing. He spoke at Global Leadership Summit last year, and he talked about there's just levels to this thing, and there is, and he talks about that grit and wanting to do the things differently than everybody else. And I remember when I first took office 4.5 years ago, I was always told, or that I should wear ties and suits and ties every single day, suits and ties, and that's what I did for like a year. And I was so uncomfortable because that was not me. I see you're in a hoodie, and I mean, it took me a while to get out of that and be like, this isn't me, man. And I don't, and maybe that's how every politician in the world should be. I don't know, but that's not who I am. And
Yeah.
I mean, listen. I wish we could wear bathing suits and flip flops to work every day. I'd be happy, but we have to be going back to your statement, in your words in your book, like I'm imperfectly perfect and I am who I am. And just like you see your wife as imperfectly perfect, or your players and your programs and you, man, I'm okay with that. And I think as soon as you become okay with who you are, then it can help you.
And
Um,
I think it's extremely important to understand that we ourselves, we're not perfect.
nope.
I tell my girls all the time, practice makes permanent. Practice does not make perfect. How you practice is how you play. So therefore it's permanent. So you need to practice as well as we can. But the biggest thing I can find as far as what has helped me is I have circles. Okay, there's an inner circle of people that I trust. This is the circle that my wife is on, my family's on, my closest of friends. And then there's the outside circle that's outside of that. and I'm close to them. I'll hear what they say. I'll break it down. I'll see if it works for me. And then there's my third circle, which is usually my players, where they get me, they get my time. I'm going to listen to what they say. I understand that I have 30 years of experience on them, and that's okay. And so I listen to it. But it's all about, you have to have accountability partners, whoever that is, and they can be professional. I tell my assistant coaches, I said, you can disagree with me in our office. In fact, I encourage you to tell me you think I'm wrong. I encourage you to say, let's do something different. But as long as we are on the same page and the same front when we walk out my office, that's all your job is.
100%.
And then my wife is the greatest accountability partner I could ask for. She makes sure I am centered. I am I'll tell this quick story because I always tell this story. This is my favorite. We're playing the number one, this is years ago. We're playing the number one team in the country. We've never beat them.
I think I know what story you're about to tell. Go ahead.
Never beat them.
It never
Um,
gets old.
we're up by 3 runs in the last inning. It's on the road. It's at their place. And I'm like, this is it. This is the day. Gonna happen. Shock the world. Lake Sumter. They hit a walk-off grand slam. And I'm sick to my stomach. I am bent over, like basically dry heaving, but people can't hear it because the cheers are too loud from the crowd. And I'm just like, hey, get in the vans. We're going home. I don't say anything to the team. We get in the vans. We're driving home. They go eat. I don't eat with anybody. I don't turn on the radio. I don't speak to anybody. We get in the car. We drive back to school. That's it. I'll tell you when practice is on Monday. I get in my car. I don't even realize I don't turn on the radio or anything. I'm just driving in silence, thinking about that ball going over to the fence or going over the fence, and we lost and all this stuff and blah, blah, blah. I get this phone call. I'm like 15 minutes from home, and I get this phone call, and it's Candace. It's my wife. And she goes, hey, what you doing? I was like, driving home, buddy. Like, what do you think I'm doing? Oh, okay. Well, hey, the boys want ice cream. And I'm like, fantastic. Like, sounds great. Can you get them ice cream? Yeah, I can get them ice cream. Is something wrong? Well, yeah, there's something wrong. Well, what's wrong? Well, did you watch the game? And she goes, yeah, I watched the game. Is that what's wrong with you? And I was like, yeah, you saw it. We got walked off on a grand slam, number one team in the country. She goes, okay, well, your kids don't give a crap if you won or lost your game. Go get them ice cream, be dad, and come home. And it was at that moment I was like, yes, ma'am. That was it. I needed someone to reset me. And she's done that countless times. And I think she enjoys it a little bit too much. But
My wife enjoys it. Nancy loves it at 100%.
but you need that person, and it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be a spouse. Even my players are my accountability partners. You know, all that kind of stuff. I want them there 15 minutes early and all this kind of. So it works. It works, but you have to have someone who's willing to tell you the tough things in the tough moments.
So tell me about, so you're the AD at a good school. They used to call it, I don't know if you've ever heard this. They used to call Lake Sumter Harvard by the Highway. I don't know if you've
Really, that's not what I was. I did not think you were going to go there. Okay.
Yeah. So they used to call it Harvard by the Highway. And maybe it was because for the very imperfectly students that went to Lake Sumter like myself that made it was really hard. But I do have the Lake Sumter degree on the wall. I was going to put it behind me and I forgot because I was running late. But tell me about like the work life, the work outside, life balance. I think I'm big on be where your feet are, right? You have to be where your feet are, and kind of to the ice cream story, which I've heard a few times. And I love it because it's true, right? My wife does not care that I'm the honorable Cregg Dalton or the Citrus County Property Appraiser or I'm over 50 people or blah blah blah, because when I get home I need to be husband and dad, and so like tell me about that because I know that's tough on your end.
It is very tough, and especially having two young boys that you want to be a part of everything. I can remember specifically one game we run ruled this team in both games, so we only played 10 innings. And I literally after the game was like, "Hey, thank you. Now I can make my son's um, post school play or whatever it was." And I just ran out of there. Um, it's about surrounding yourself with good people.
Yep.
I can tell you that much. Who are willing to tell you you're not doing enough, but also are willing to tell you you need to step back, take a day. Work-life balance is something that I've heard people say is unachievable. I think just like working on yourself, you can always work to better that. I'm very much attached to my phone. There literally 2 weeks ago, our track team was in Kansas, and I'm coaching Little League baseball, travel baseball for 9U, and my wife is running towards me with the phone because our track team got stranded in Kansas, and now they're back home and their van died on the side of the road. That's incredibly difficult. Emergencies are emergencies, but understanding that exactly what you said, I get this 40 to 45 minute drive on the way home to decompress, and once I walk in, I got kids who go, Dad, and that's where I need to be. Easier said than done. And
Yeah,
you
somebody
know,
taught, I don't know, I can't remember. I'm trying to think who said it. That they kind of have a rule when they go home, they have a basket near their door. They have like a wicker basket or whatever basket you want to talk about. And so when they walk in the door, everybody's phones go in that basket. And for the first 2 hours, that's where they are. No phones, they completely unplug. Now, I mean, you could say an hour. I mean, it doesn't matter.
yeah,
But I mean, and I can tell you, like when I get home, most people, my neighbors, my best friends will tell you that when I get home at night and on the weekends. Now, I will tell you, I had a little bit of a different scenario because for 12 years I was in law enforcement, and that is a 24/7 job. And because anything could happen at any time, and you got to be on call. So, and I promised Nancy that when I got this job, it can wait. Like anything can wait. And I understand what you're talking about. You have a team in Kansas, and you got to handle that. But when I get home, I really I'm very intentional and purposeful to put that phone away, and just connect with her. And that's a big deal.
and
She deserves that.
yeah, it's an ongoing battle. There are times where I'll go through a stretch where I get home, I throw my phone on the bed and I leave it in there.
Hmm.
There's times where right now in our life that we're moving so fast, I'm sprinting to get home from work, I'm picking up my son, we're going to 9U. All this stuff, it's really tough. Again, I go back to accountability partners. My wife just went up to me about a week ago and said, "Hey, you're getting attached to your phone again." And I'm like, I can feel it. I can feel it. And I don't know if it's the new position. I don't want to miss an emergency. I don't want to miss, my new supervisors contacting me. It's always something that I'm trying to strive for that I don't know if I'll ever be perfect at. It's that work-life
Yeah.
balance.
Well, and it's hard too, right? So you're the AD. I think your wife is in leadership at the clerk's office. You've got two kids. You've got you got your parents and stuff. So it's a lot, right? It's a lot, but I think you just take a deep breath, and you'll be fine with that. Um, what is what's one of the biggest things you think that you've learned as a coach, that's helped you as a person?
So I always strive to tell my girls, you don't know what's going on in somebody else's life. That's one of the biggest things that I've heard. My girls have come back to me and said, that's the biggest takeaway has nothing to do with how to hit a change up or a curve ball or a rise ball. It has nothing to do with how to play defense. It's, hey, I need to look at this through different lenses and go, something might be going on with them that has nothing to do with me. That might be why they're acting like this towards me. And so that's something that once I figured out how important it was to everybody else, it's already important to me. I kind of even more so moved it to the front is to think back and go, or show appreciation where I need to. The other day, Beckett's assistant principal called me with a positive referral, which I'm like, why is the assistant principal of school calling me? And I said to he thanked me for all this stuff and raising my kids the best way possible, which is, I think we're all just doing the best we can. But I thanked him. I said, please keep making these phone calls. I said, because I know it's a small thing for you to do to take 5 minutes out of your day. I said, but it just made my day go through the roof. So what can I do for somebody else?
Yeah. So what's kind of cool about that, just so on that principal note, and I don't know if you do this maybe with your players' parents, but like every once in a while, I will write to a spouse of one of our employees. I'll write a card, and I'll write because I can tell you, I don't go home and just sing, my own praises to my family, right? And you're probably not doing that because your wife definitely doesn't want to hear it. But I will write a card to the spouse and say all the great things that their spouse has done at work each day, like for the last couple months. And I've had more spouses reach out to me because I'll put my business card in there with my cell phone number, and I've had a few of them reach out and be like, "Hey man, I really appreciate you doing that. You got, kind of the same thing. Keep doing this because I don't hear enough great things about what my spouse is doing at work because they're not going to do that. So that is a big deal, man.
Oh yeah, and I see. I a couple things. Number one, if I see a kid who's really getting after it at practice, I will text them. Just that little small text is like, "I saw you today. You're getting it." And I just want you to tell you, keep going, those kinds of things. I write a personal letter to every single one of my graduating sophomores, handwritten, or actually I type it. I lied. But they get it straight from me, no chat GPT or anything like that. And they look forward to that. Well, this year I did something a little bit different. I've had the greatest group of parents these last 2 years. That I think one of the greatest things you can do in your entire life is love other people's children as much as you love your own. And these parents would cheer for these other girls that were not their daughter as loud as they would for their daughter. If their daughter wasn't starting, they cheered for these other players, just as much. And I remember as they go into being sophomore parents, they don't know the kid's name. So they're like, hey, let's go number 7. Here we go. They're cheering for them. They don't even know their name. And I just appreciated their support so much over the last 2 years that they got, a letter typed up by me. I gave it to their daughter and had them hand it to them. I think just being able to tell someone, hey, I see you. You're doing fantastic. I appreciate you, can make someone's day, can make someone's week. You don't know what they're going through. I'll tell you this: we do this exercise, again about creating relationships, and it's bigger than softball. There was a day 2 years ago, and we started doing it every year since. But there's rain all over the field, water, puddles, everything, and I was like, I could work on this for about 2 hours, and we could have practice, okay? Or we could do this other thing that I've been thinking about doing. And I had a player behind me. I didn't even realize. She goes, what's the other thing? And I said, do you really want to know? And she goes, yeah. And I told her, she goes, can we do that? That's awesome. So what we do is we create a list, top 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got to this point in your life because of other people. Tell me the most influential person that has helped you be as successful as possible. Write it down. It can be mom and dad is one. That's fine. It cannot be mom and dad if it's, so they write it down. And I go, okay. And then we go around the room and I say, who'd you pick? And they tell me, and they had to describe it. Who'd you pick? Okay, you have to tell me, you have to describe it. I said, now you have to text that person. You have to text them right now. Tell them what we're doing, that we're doing an exercise. You pick them as the most positive, influential person in your life to help them succeed right now. And the responses they got back was incredible. We had people showing up at our games. We had one young lady who said, I texted my 4th grade teacher because of her influence on me for the rest of my life. And she said that had been one of the hardest weeks in her teaching career, and that uplifted her to know that she is doing things the right way. And then we do that for 2, 3, 4, 5, and I tell them, don't put in there you're number 2 on the list. Just put in there like you are one of the most influential people. I had someone stop by my practice and shake my hand because I had them do that, because it's a mathematical equation that we being on this planet right now are actual miracles. There's only a 1 in 400 quadrillion chance that we are here right now. And
Wow.
so,
That's a fun fact. I can't beat that one.
and I hate math. And we are successful because of other people along the way. Now, who are they and how? Okay, the follow-up is, what are the characteristics of these 5 individuals that you need to have so you can be that most influential person in somebody else's life? And so those are the kind of exercises that we do that have nothing to do with softball.
So, who is the most influential person in your life to get you where you are today? I know you
Oh
you've probably
man.
written it down.
So I always try to separate my personal life and my athletic life, because athletically I think my father is my most influential person. In my professional and personal life, it would probably be my wife.
I
Um,
just told, it's funny you say that. And so this is, you're making up for your snoring comment from earlier with that. I did tell Nancy last night, I kid you not, and I agree with you. I said, I'm the man I am today because of her. And so I agree with you.
oh
Uh,
yeah, I'm very much, there is nothing I can accomplish at Lake Sumter State College if I didn't have Candace.
right.
She goes into single mom mode from January to May. I can remember we're sitting here literally wondering if we're going to make the World Series or not, and she's telling me, I really want you to go. but
I
I'm
thought you said you.
also
I thought you were going to say, "Hey, I need you to pick up some bread at the grocery store."
well, that's just it. She'll be like, I really want you to go, but I also am really looking forward to you being here. Now, that comment, I will always say, never stop educating yourself. I was an SID graduate assistant at Northwest Missouri State University for all their sports. Football,
So
1A,
SID for people that are listening is sports
sports
information
information director.
director. Yeah.
Okay, so our football team won a national championship. Well, we were in the run in the postseason, and literally we won the football game to go to the national championship on our home field. So I'm down on the field. One of my jobs was to stand next to Coach Doral and walk around, make sure nobody jumped him or anything crazy like that. And literally, his wife looked at him and said, "Will you please grab these two things at the grocery store on your way home?" And he said, "Yes, ma'am." And to me, that was so influential. This guy's going to a national championship.
It don't
That
matter.
was so influential as I want to coach. I'm a young individual that I'm educating myself as much as I can. And that had nothing to do with X's and O's. That had nothing to do with winning. That was who are you as a person? I know the confidence for her to ask that question and his response is yes, ma'am. Is
I don't think
amazing.
it has anything to do with confidence. I think it has to be like she's the alpha and she's telling him what to do because that's my wife.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's. I think they just get it, right? I think spouses just get that, and again, like Candace doesn't care that you're Coach Miller or AD Miller. Like she wants you to pick up ice cream and come be dad,
Yep.
and it's kind of the same thing. So I'll say this, I kind of said it at the beginning. Like I would love if Savannah were to ever play college sports, which I think she's ruined her eligibility. She did play club volleyball at FSU. I was pretty impressed with
Okay.
that. That's next level. But I would want her to play for you. I will tell you above my head, right here, Theodore Roosevelt. One of my favorite things is the man in the arena.
I knew exactly what it was when I was reading the bottom because all I could see is the bottom. I knew exactly what that was.
Yeah, so I'm big on that, right? Because you talk about, you want your players to have grit. You like the people that are, are maybe the little people in the world, and they're going to fight for everything they have. And I think that that's one of the greatest things that I know about you and a lot of people that I associate with. Like you talk about accountability, people in your circle. I want people that are going to get in the arena with me, that are going to get in the fight with me, that are going to believe in the mission of the Citrus County Property Appraiser's Office, that are going to believe in the mission of Lake Sumter State College athletic program, and so, man, you and I could probably talk for hours, but I don't think we would hold our audience's attention. But I definitely want to have you back, Jay.
Well,
Maybe next time we'll
I
get
thought
you
you had
in
I thought you
person.
had a lightning round for me.
Well, I've already asked them. It's when we start talking, you start throwing little nuggets. I mean, okay, let's see, let's go. Uh,
I'll try to answer as short as possible.
uh, Powerade or Gatorade?
Gatorade, baby blue.
Mm. All right, but that stumped me there for a second. Let's see here. First base coach or third base coach?
Oh, third base coach. Third base
See,
coach.
I see, and I told Darren Pillsbury because I asked him in his episode. I just want to. That's too much pressure for me. I just want to be the first base coach. Let me hold your back gloves. Let me hold your elbow guards. Um, uh, Thrill of winning a collegiate softball game, or winning the kickball world championships in Inverness.
College softball, definitely,
Uh,
definitely.
let's see. You already answered. Your wife is the better athlete. Well, you said you're even right now, and that's a safe play. I really think I should make you answer that question because I think you've kind of teetered on that one a little bit. Um, I kind of guess I did the safe play too because I picked Savannah. I will tell you, Nancy and I's first date. Do you remember your wife's first date with? Oh, I should probably ask you that on TV. Do you remember what it was? I would tell you, Nancy and I's was Top Golf, and she beat me.
Oh, okay.
And then it took me 6 years, seven years to take her back to Top Golf, and she beat me again. So never going to Top Golf with Nancy again.
Yeah,
What about
Candace.
you? First date?
I, I think we went to a concert, but Candace with golf. Okay, we're gonna talk. She has clubs. She picks them up once every 2 years and just hits the ball down the fairway. And I'm like, I hate you so much. I play this game and pay so much money to be very, very below average golfer. And she's just like, no, this looks fun. Boom. And it just drives me insane.
Yeah. I will tell you though, my wife, and I'm sure Candace is the same way. Dog. Like if I want to go into battle with somebody like on a pickleball court, I'm taking my wife.
Oh,
I'm taking my
okay.
wife, and I'm going to get every ounce of effort out of Nancy that I can ever get for sure.
So we got invited, Candace and I got invited to play in a slow pitch softball tournament one time. And we were the ringers. I'm a college softball coach. She's former all
Played.
conference
Yeah.
softball player in college. I get hurt in the first inning diving for a ball. So my hip is jacked. I can't run, I can't do
You're
anything. I
old.
have to catch.
Yeah, I get that.
I have to catch the rest of the day, which is where you put your unathletic people. Candace proceeds to go 0 for 21 on the day, and she's literally in the car, almost in tears, like never invite me back to this ever again. Because she couldn't wait on the ball, she struggled, and then she's gotten better since. But that was our first introduction into slow pitch softball, and I was like, man, I don't think we're gonna get called back.
You should have said you played college softball. Like I don't get it.
I,
No,
I
no, don't do that. I'm just kidding.
I always
Um,
subscribe to. I tell people I'm like, hey, those who can't do coach, and that's why people call me Coach Miller. So
all right, I got two fun ones because you
let's
kind of
go.
threw me on a loop here. What's your spirit animal?
Ooh, so I've been asked by I had a recruit. Her mom was the head psychologist for the Air Force Base down in um, Sarasota. Where is that? I don't even
Tampa
know.
McDill.
There you go. And she goes, "What animal are-" And I was like, "I'm an otter." And she goes, "No one ever answers an otter." So I'm an otter.
I'm a unicorn.
Oh, okay.
I like being different. I like being different. In fact, hold on, I got something for you. See, this was given to me randomly.
Oh,
And so I have this, and I'm very patriotic. I love the USA. God,
yeah,
I love the USA. So that like they know I'm a unicorn, and so they got me this. This just appeared in my office one day. It's really weird.
that's
And then
awesome.
I was having difficulties with a class that I was taking several years ago when I first got here, and somebody gave me basically a unicorn challenge coin. And so when I go to take that test, I was like, I had it in my hands and I passed it. So
That's
they
cool.
know I'm a unicorn.
You should ask Candace. I'm sure her spirit animal has rabies or something. For sure.
Oh man. All right. So let's see. I know you like going to the gym. What's on if you hit play on your radio right now, what's the first song that's coming on?
Goodness, let's see. I know Morgan Wallen has a new
You're
album
one of
out.
those guys. You're one of those
Hardy has a
guys.
new album out.
Yo,
But
it's got 37 songs on it. How do you listen to it all?
so I will say this. My girls hate it because the first song I play has got to be the loudest bass just to get myself in the zone. From there I'll go back to normal music. But right now it's called house music that they just play in the clubs, and it just I zone out from everything. Is a boom 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 boom. So that's typically the first thing. After that, I like Taylor Swift. I'll listen
I
to Taylor
cannot
Swift in
believe
my
you
living
just
room.
did that on recording
Oh yeah.
Taylor Swift. Are you a Swiftie?
Oh for sure.
Have you
Yeah.
been to a concert?
Yeah. That was
You're very excited about that.
I
I,
am.
I, I thought you were gonna. I literally thought you were gonna go like AC/DC or some Metallica or some crazy music. I definitely didn't expect Taylor Swift to come out of your mouth.
My wife tells me I listen to two types of music. One, music nobody else listens to, so that's that house music. Okay.
Yeah,
Number
yeah.
two, basic teenage girl music. Those are my two options. That's
Well, I mean, you are with teenage female athletes
This is
for
true.
your entire life. So I mean, I guess I can kind of understand that.
This is
So
true.
I have a yeah. I mean, mine is Imagine Dragons. I think if I had to go to,
I
I'm gonna
love the crossover.
yeah, I'm gonna go with Imagine Dragons. I think I can relate to them. We talked about mental health a lot in this episode, and you write about it in your book. And they are very upfront about a lot of his songs are about mental health illness and dealing with it and coping with it. So if you ever get a chance, watch the Imagine Dragons live in Las Vegas, his
Okay.
concert. Amazing. It is. I've been to hundreds of concerts in my lifetime, and I listen to music every day, all day long. That is one of the best concerts that I've ever watched, and he's amazing. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, he's cool. Well, listen, Coach Miller, I appreciate your time. I could do this for hours with you, buddy. I appreciate everything that you do for sports, what you do for athletes, what you do for Lake Sumter, what you do for the World Kickball Championships of the world. And I appreciate the heck out of you, man. We are going to have you back, but I got to have you in studio.
Yeah.
I don't know if people, I hope people sit here and listen. We're at an hour and 20 minutes, and I hope everybody listens to the entire thing. And because I definitely think you're good people, and we just want to make people happy, man. And that's it. So I appreciate you being a friend, and I think one of the coolest things that I've done in my 4.5 years is meet you. So I appreciate
Oh,
you.
dang, that's gonna be up there with, wow, that's
I'm
awesome. I
telling you,
appreciate that.
I appreciate you, and you need to hang that courage picture up on the wall 'cause that's pretty important back
That
there.
one back there,
Yeah,
yeah.
that one back there, kind of like my Teddy Roosevelt one right there.
I might have to get one of those. I might have to hang me one. I will say this: whenever I'm anywhere and I get the random text from you, it'll be like, "Hey, congratulations on all the wins" or something like that. I'll be like, "Property appraiser just texted me. Does he text you?"
I don't think anybody cares about that. I don't think you should say that. I don't know if that holds the same value or weight as, hey man, this college softball coach just texted me, right? Like the weights are two totally different things. I will tell you on your short statured athletes that you love. So I'm a big Atlanta Braves fan. Are you a Cincinnati Reds fan?
Die hard.
Yeah, something's what's up with the Reds right now, but the Braves are not good this year. I don't know what's up with them. Anyways, I digress. Our shortstop and our second baseman, if you go pull them, you have Ozzy Albies, that is our second baseman, 5'7", 5'8" ish. I mean, now he's a brick house because he's super strong.
Yeah.
We have a guy that's playing shortstop for us. His name is Nick Allen, 5'8". Like, dude is little. He's not your prototypical shortstop in the pros, but he is a dog, man. I will take him all day long. He is actually married to Brett Boone's daughter.
Really?
Yeah, fun
Now,
fact.
Brett Boone, he's another guy, short
Yeah.
stature.
Well, Nick Allen, and he bats 7, 8, 9 in the lineup, and he's not going to hit your home runs, but he's going to get on base, and he's gonna be there. So again, short statured
Love it.
people, I'm good with that.
Love it.
Listen, Coach Miller, I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great summer. Get on that recruiting trail. Make sure you come into Citrus County and recruit some of our softball players over here. They got some good ones over here.
I got a few coming in next year.
All right, all
That's for
right.
sure.
Well, Coach Miller, please tell Candace I said hi. Tell the kids I said hi. Your dad I said hi. Everybody I said hi. And I'm proud to be a Lake Sumter alum with you at the helm of our athletic department.
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
All right, Jay. We'll see you, buddy.
See ya.